It's awesome to be back. I've got a long history with the Center for Spiritual Living at Tampa Bay since you were on Bush Boulevard way back in the 90s when I first started coming here and speaking. So y'all have been all over the place, but the love has gone with you right to wherever you went. So great to be back. We're going to do a program that's going to start off with a couple of joy songs, sing-alongs. I don't know about you, but finding my peace in the last 3 years has been harder than the previous times. And what I believe is just happening is I'm having to go in deeper and connect with the mind of God in a more profound way because of all the changes. I will say this, I do a prayer for the universe. Could we have a little less change and have a little more stability? And the universe says, you're going to get what you're going to get. Deal with it. Okay. So this song is all about keeping the peace even when the external world is not going the way you want it to go. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. And interesting because the last few months, we've connected with a few different ministers that were involved with this center. We were up at the Center for Spiritual Living in Rhode Island, and Alan Vukas, is that how you say it, is up there. Of course, he wasn't there the day we were there. Ministers often are gone when we come. I don't know if it's because they need to take time off or they don't want to have to explain us to the audience. I don't know what it is, but we rarely see them. And so he was gone. And then last Sunday, we were with Reverend Susie Shadle, who also was your interim minister here for a while. So it's like y'all are branching out all over the world with this message from Tampa Bay.
It's like we're all connected.
It's almost like there's only one of us. I like to say when things work out kind of synchronistically, I go, it's almost like there's a God. People always, born-agains don't like that, but other people do. Anyway, instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Okay, we're going to teach it to you. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Like the Macarena, we got hand movements. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. If every journey begins with a single step, I'm taking my first step now. If we are to be the change that we want to see, I'm changing myself now. Always a good place to start, the one in the mirror. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. All right, we're going to get a little funky. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Yeah. Instead of waiting for there to be peace on earth, make peace within you now. Yo, 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 don't wait for peace to come. Be the change you want to see. Gandhi said that, yo. All right, you just never know what you're going to get with us. Angelina says sometimes she goes, are you going to outgrow that rapper phase? And I said, don't hold your breath. That's a new part of me. I even gave him a name because he believes in giving where you're spiritually fed. So his name is Tithe Boy. But all my friends call me 10%.
There you go.
So I'm talking about right there. I even gave her a rapper name. She's like, why do I need a rapper name? Because you with me, you got to have a rapper name. So I named her Namin. So say that with me, Namin. She's looking good, Namin. And right there. Anyway, all right, so let's do a song here that's totally different than that. In 2013, we saw a movie called The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Anybody see it? Fantastic, kind of a new thought movie. I think it had a lot of spiritual messages. But the main message in the movie was, everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. And I think that that is really a wonderful message. We often call it in New Thought divine order, or this too shall pass, or everything's working for your good. I love the idea that everything's working for our good. It's the opposite of paranoia. It's called pronoia. And pronoia is when you walk around constantly feeling like the universe is conspiring on your behalf. And that's what we do. People say we're crazy, but you know what? It feels better. It feels better to think the universe is conspiring on your behalf than to think everything is against you. Who's ever felt like everything was against them at one point? Come on. Dr. Phil would say, how's that working for you? So, I believe in looking for the good, okay? This is happening. There's a reason this is happening. The quicker you look for it, I think the quicker you'll find it. You're going to find it anyway. Things always work out for us, but the quicker you look for it, the quicker I believe you're going to find it. So this is Everything Will Be Okay in the End. It's kind of a little bit of an island song, so you can kind of get in the groove and move with me. Everything is Armand. All right, we're going to sing it. Okay, this is the chorus. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Nothing in this universe will ever last. So if you're feeling low, this too shall pass. Nothing in this universe will ever last. So if you're feeling low, this too shall pass. Because everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Okay, we're gonna sha-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la. Every happy song has to have some sha-la-la-la. Sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la. Even when the darkness seems to hide your way, after every night, a brand new day. Even when the darkness seems to hide your way, after every night, a brand new day. A brand new day. A sunny day. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. We're gonna sha-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la. Sha-la-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la-la. All right, here comes the tricky part. Even when it all just seems to go your way, don't get attached, it's gonna change. Even when it all just seems to go your way, no matter how many times you saw The Secret, it's still gonna change. That's okay, because everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. Just the audience. It's not the end, that's right. It's not the end. It's not the end. So if you don't like the weather, wait a day. It's not the end. It's not the end. If you can't believe all they talk about on TV or politics, it's not the end. It's not the end. It's not the end. But this is the end. All right. Question for you. I know we did a meditation at 10 a.m. Do y'all usually do some type of a meditation during the message? Because to me, what Randy did was the meditation, which is perfect. Do y'all usually do a meditation within the message as well? No. Okay. That's good. So we got the 10 a.m. meditation. We got this meditation, and now we're going to keep going. So we're going to go into our message now, which is, I now pronounce you not guilty. All right. And the deal is I've been doing a lot of work on my own inner shame and guilt. You know, the conscious stuff was much easier than the unconscious stuff. But the unconscious stuff will get your attention by how it shows up in your life. And so I realized I had a lot more shame work to do. And so I've been looking deeper into what parts of me have felt guilty and shameful, and I'm using all my tools and asking Spirit to guide me. And so a few years ago, Spirit gave me a book called I Now Pronounce You Not Guilty. And so I'm going to be sharing a lot of information from that. Shame and guilt does absolutely no good, okay? Let's say you do something to somebody and you feel yucky about it, and that's okay. You feel a little remorse. Feeling shameful and guilt doesn't make the other person feel better. If it does, they have a problem. And what makes them feel better is making an amend, okay? Making an amend. You know, when I first went into church when I was a little kid, Angelina and I are both born Catholic. We're 3/4 Catholic. And one of the first things I remember hearing was, you were born in original sin. How's that working for you? That's what you want to hear from your spiritual teachers, that you were born in original sin? And then I got in a new thought and found out, no, you were born as an original blessing. You were born as an original blessing. You are worthy. You are valuable. You are awesome. And later in life, I learned that you can't really ever make a mistake. What feels like a mistake is a lesson, okay? And you grow from it and you move on. So carrying guilt and shame from what you've done in the past serves no one, okay? It's kind of like worry. When has worry ever helped? Mark Twain has a great thing about worry that I use all the time. I've worried about many things in my life, most of which never happened. Can we all say that? All the things, oh my God, we're worried about, you know, to be prepared and to be looking towards the future of how something might turn out, that's not worry. Worry debilitates you. Looking and being prepared helps you feel better. So the same thing is true with shame and guilt. This idea that we were born as original sin, that we need to feel bad all the time, is not healthy.
We also heard that from a church in Tennessee, from a minister.
That's right.
At a Presbyterian church.
We were at a Presbyterian church, and they said the same thing. You were born as an original blessing.
It was beautiful to hear that from
a non-New Thought church. And we found out there's two organizations of the Presbyterian movement. There's a regular organization, more traditional, and there's one that's more progressive and very LGBTQ friendly. The same thing is true more and more so with the United Church of Christ. If you know anything about UCC, they also have a very, very strong embracing, accepting part of their ministry. As a matter of fact, when I read one of the newsletters at the UCC Church of Prescott, it looked like a CSL embracing, honoring kind of thing. And I went, things are shifting. I remember when I got into New Thought in 1984, I was a weirdo. Now it's becoming mainstream. What's that? Well done. Reverend Dee Dee, have you spoken here? Because I bet you've probably spoken at this church before. Reverend Dee Dee is a wonderful New Thought minister. We were at a memorial service for a unity minister that made her transition recently. She died so young, 87. I would love to go that long. Anyway, so we were both friends of hers, and we both were there yesterday. And I told her, we're going to be in Tampa. She goes, I'm going to be in Tampa. So yay, great to have you here. I remember being in this church before, and when it was in a different location, and there were like 4 CSL ministers in there on the same day. Talk about intimidating. You know, it's like, oh my God, I better not screw up. You see, the old shame was coming in. We watched this channel called Apple TV that has this show called Ted Lasso. Any Ted Lasso fans out there? There's always one. Anyway, Ted Lasso is one of the most positive, affirming, supportive guys in the entire world. He's very new thought, and we heard about him from a lady named Brene Brown. Do we have any Brene Brown fans? So Brene Brown and Esther Perel were doing a podcast and talking about, have you seen the latest episode of Ted Lasso? And I go, my hero Shiros are talking about a TV show? I better check it out. And we fell in love with it.
If you get the opportunity to see it, it is really, really wonderful. It's very positive, good humor. And
lots of dad jokes.
Lots of dad jokes.
We told some dad jokes this morning. I'll share with you. What fruit has to get married in the church?
Oh.
Cantaloupe. But anyway, but while we were watching Apple TV, we saw this preview for this movie called The Sky is Everywhere. And we really, really liked it. And it was about a young girl whose idol, which was her older sister, had passed away. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I get confused sometimes. And as a result, she went through a lot of shame and guilt and sadness and all the things that happen in life that are natural and normal. It's natural and normal to feel all that stuff. You just don't want to buy property there. Okay? And you move on. But her uncle said something very powerful and very simple that I think would change all of our lives if we could embrace it. So this young lady, I don't remember what she did, but she did something she felt very ashamed of. And she said, I just can't get out of it. I can't get out of it. And he goes, well, talk to me about it. He was kind of a hippy-dippy, new agey kind of guy. And she said, tell me what's going on. And she said, what if you did something really, 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 really bad? What do you do? I mean, really bad. And he went, don't do it again. Now that sounds simple, but wouldn't that be a wonderful advice to tell yourself when you learn your lesson? I feel really yucky about what I did. Okay, then make a commitment right now not to be that way again. If you were impolite or you were rude or you were mean or whatever, just make a commitment not to do it again, and you're immediately pardoned. You're immediately free. You're out. You're out on parole. Try to be nice for a while, you know. Anyway, but you're free, okay? And so to me, that's what is helping me to love me fully, even with all of the things that I do that are not ideal. I mean, I prank my wife. I can't help it. I prank her all the time.
He does.
I'm scaring her all the time. And then I go, oh my gosh, I don't know what came over me. I can't help myself. I was channeling. And she forgives me all the time. So we study a guy named Greg Bear. Greg Bear wrote the Real Love series. Real love in marriage, real love in child raising, real love in everything. And so he talks a lot about the innocent, beautiful, childlike nature that is in all of us. I don't care how old you get, you're still a child of God. Do you know how I know you're a child of God? Because no spiritual teacher has ever said that we are adults of God. Never heard it, have you? It's not true. There's a part of you that is a sweet, innocent, divine little child of God, and that part of you is there forever. Was here before you came here on earth, will be with you after you leave the planet on earth, okay? You will always have this sweet, innocent, divine, childlike nature. And it's important that we recognize that, even when our ego acts uninnocent, okay? And so he says, there is one thing that you will never be able to do, no matter how hard you try. And we don't talk a lot about limitations in New Thought. Okay, the Science of Mind talks about your potential. One of the things Ted Lasso says, he says, when I see the word impossible, I split it up. I'm possible. You see that? And that's a very new thought type teaching. But I will tell you a limitation you have. It is impossible for you, no matter how hard you try and how much you pray and how many books you read and how many workshops you go to ever be unlovable. You can't do it. Who's tried? You can't be unlovable. You can do unloving things, but you can't be unlovable. And it's important to know that. And he says that's really ultimately all our inner child ever wants to know, is that we are lovable. If we're, okay, that's got some little sensitivities to it. Okay, I'm still lovable when my mic messes up. The shame comes in, and I hear the neurotic voices. I have voices in my head, and I realize they're all mentally ill. And they tell me crazy stuff. Get out, get out. Okay. So anyway, so yes.
Well, what happens is, we're lovable, but we get these messages from our parents and adults when we're young that you're lovable. I love you as long as you're not, as long as I'm not being inconvenienced, or as long as, that. And so we, then we don't feel lovable unless we're always doing good and trying to be perfect and enough.
Want to say anything about being perfect?
Do I want to say anything about being perfect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have that condition.
How's that working for you?
Well, it's exhausting. I've decided recently that I don't want to be perfect and try to do everything perfect, because it is exhausting. And what does it really get me?
Yeah, and the thing is,
it's not, because I'm not really authentic if I'm trying to be something I'm not. And so.
And that's
It's
all part of compensation.
Work in
We're all a work in progress, and it's all okay. We're all lovable through all the stages. Can you imagine a little tiny sprout feeling ashamed because it wasn't a twig, and then the twig feeling ashamed because it wasn't a tree yet? Whatever. No matter what stage you're going through, you're perfect right where you are. And that's why it's very important that we send that message to ourselves and also to others, especially parents that are dealing with children. Now, that's all of us. We're all children. So when we're dealing with other people, remember, you're dealing with a child to some extent, a vulnerable, sensitive child. And so what Greg Bear says is, he says, never take your anger or your resentment or your disappointment out on someone, including yourself. You can feel disappointed. You can feel anger. You can feel resentment, but don't take it out on yourself or another, because when you take that out on another, no matter what you say or what you do, the inner child only hears one thing: I'm not lovable. I was lovable before I did this thing or before I said this thing, but they are letting me know that their love for me is conditional. Okay? So what he says is, in an instant that happens, one of the great things you can do is, when you're feeling like you want to attack or tell somebody how disappointed you are in what they did. Now, we're not talking about setting boundaries. Boundaries are important. Telling somebody, by the way, that type of behavior and words that you said is unacceptable in my life. I still love you, but it's unacceptable. So if you want to continue to do that, you won't be able to do that with me. That's a boundary. Brene Brown says the most compassionate people are often the ones that are the most boundaried, because they're so well taken care of that they can really give to you. Okay.
And you can trust someone who has a boundary. And what does she say? A no.
She says when you're with somebody that has a strong no, you can trust their yeses better, because they're boundaried. But that's different. Boundaries is taking care of yourself. Projecting your anger, your disappointment, resentment on another person, that makes the world a less loving place. So Angelina has a technique when she starts to feel upset with her husband.
Right. So this started during menopause, because I could feel like that mood change very quickly.
The mood swing.
Right. So what I learned was, when I started to feel that, to leave the room, because if I stayed in the room, Medusa would come out, and no one really wants to see Medusa.
She's scary.
Yes. So what I learned to do is, I just say, I have to go outside right now. I will be back. And so I go outside and I sit out in my chair in the sun and you know, get centered, figure out what's going on. Why am I feeling this? And is this something that I need to come back in and say, Armand, we need to talk about this? Or is it just really me in one of those moods that is really has nothing to do with Armand? It's just me feeling this. So, and 99% of the time, it's just me. So, but I always come in and Armand apologizes, which he doesn't need to.
While she's out there, I'm thinking about, was I being the most sensitive I can be? And usually I go, oh, thank you. God's talking to me. Yes. Usually I go, you know, you could have probably said that in a little bit better way. You know, she's going through this particular situation right now and that kind. So she comes back, tells me, I figured out what it is. You didn't do anything wrong. And then I tell her, and I figured out that that wasn't the most, you know, it's like, it's a wonderful thing. But if you don't split when you get, he calls it getting emptied out. When you get emptied out and you present that emptied out person, you're no good to anybody because, yes, you did that exactly right. That's it. Ruth said it. You get this going. And so it's a wonderful, wonderful way to de-escalate a situation. And
it's not that I'm leaving the room and we're not going to talk about this or I'm abandoning him.
Right.
It's I will be back. I just need to get centered, find out what's going on inside me, and then we'll be back and I'll be back. So
anybody ever get triggered on Facebook? I'm extremely transparent on Facebook. I tell people all the awesome things that are going on in my life. I also tell everybody the challenges I'm having in my life. I want to be as transparent. It's for me, Facebook is not only a personal thing, but it's also a way to connect. It's also a way to tell people where we're performing, but it's also like a living journal for me. I journal on Facebook, and I feel like as a minister, this is part of my ministry. It makes me very open to attack, which I know is part of the deal. And sometimes I start to get freaked out that somebody would treat me that way. I wrote something recently. I said, okay, new deal. No unsolicited advice. And what was the other thing I said none of? No inventory taking. If you have feedback from me, great. If you want to tell me what's going on with your life, like if I say, hey, I'm going through this situation, and you want to say, I went through a similar situation and what worked for me, that's different. That's not unsolicited advice. This is what you need to do, okay? Not a fan of that, okay? Not a fan of it. Share from that. So I put that out there, and boy, the people have been so careful. I'd like to say something to you, Armand, but I don't want, wow, people are just being so, I love it. Just, yeah, be gentle. Be gentle. And so anyway, so that's what I do. I put that out there, and it sometimes comes back. So if you get triggered, do not write anything when that happens. Do what Angelina says. Take a moment, breathe, get filled back up. You know, it's so simple, but we talk about it on the airline all the time. In the case of a cabin pressure problem, mask will fall down. Please put your mask on first and then assist small children. If you have 2 children, pick your favorite. They don't really say that, but you see what that is? All they're saying with that is get filled up, take care of your own oxygen, or you're no good to anyone else. So when you start to feel yourself emptying out because of some ridiculous thing someone said on your wall, breathe, get filled back up, talk to somebody unrelated, you know, like Angelina.
So why don't you give the example of a child, you know, like what, because they're going to get, if they do something wrong, they're going to get yelled at, and maybe there's a different way
I'll give you an example. So let's say you have a teenager. Anybody ever had a teenager? Aren't they special? Anyway, you have a teenager, and you want to teach them to drive, and you want to help them to practice in the driveway. Just going down the driveway, back up the driveway. Let them get the feel of the gas. And one time, they hit the gas instead of the brake, and they go through the garage door. You hear it, you witness it, you see it. Chances are you're going to get emptied out really quickly. All that emotion, everything comes out of you. And you're like, Oh. So what he says is, do not go and beat up that child. Do not, and I'm talking about emotionally. Obviously, we wouldn't hit them, but emotionally, don't tell them
Don't
what's.
react.
Don't react. Go to them and you say, Randy, we know what just happened. You don't need me to tell you. I love you. As a matter of fact, I love you every bit as much as I did before you destroyed my door. So just know that does not change. Dad's a little freaked out right now, and he needs to get unfreaked. So then I go to my friend. I want to kill Randy. So what I'm doing is I'm releasing it with somebody that's not invested in the situation, and Rich will go, I would probably feel the same way. I don't know if we're still on the camera there, but anyway, I would probably feel the same way. I understand, but let's get real. What's really going on? It's metal, it's plastic, it's gears, it's wires. It's not your son. And it's just stuff. Exactly, perfect. Y'all are helping with my message here today. It's great. And Rich helps me get filled back up. And then I go back and I say, still loving you. I know you're probably feeling terrible, but the bottom line is there's nothing we can do about it. It's what it is. I'm sure you've learned a valuable lesson, and your allowance for the next decade. Because what I'm telling Randy now is I'm saying there are consequences and there are disciplines, but letting them know that they are loved before they did it, while they did it, and after they did it. So they hear, and this is true of all of us, even our friends that are our same age, they do something that hurts you, make sure you're filled up before you're talking to them about it, okay? Get filled up so you can come from a place of, this is what I need, but my love has not changed for you. Keep everyone and yourself knowing that you are lovable no matter what you do. So let's take this next part. I got a few more minutes. We used to watch Oprah when she had her show. We had this thing, it was a weird old-fashioned thing. It's called a VCR. And we would tape Oprah, because she would come on at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It was inconvenient, right in the middle of work. And we'd watch it at 9 o'clock after dinner. And one day, Oprah had a couple of young men on her show, and each of them had been in jail for like 10 years for taking the lives of family members. And both of them got out because of something called the Innocence Project that looks for people that have been wrongly accused and helps get the information out through DNA testing and lots of science so their innocence can be proven. And they were both proven innocent by this work. And but they had already served a bunch of time for a crime they didn't do. And everybody was real joyous that they had gotten out, but it was a real tender, heartfelt moment. But here's the twist that freaked everybody out. Both men had confessed to the crime. And people were like, how in the world would that happen? They said, well, you're just going to have to understand it from our point of view. Number one, our family members had passed away, so we were traumatized. Number two, we were the suspects, and we were taken in to custody and told we did this. We were traumatized, we were confused, we were imprisoned. Then we were interrogated. Come on, you know you did it. If you would just admit it, we'll give you a lighter sentence and move on, because understandably they want to get these cases done so they can move on to other stuff, but interrogating. And I started weeping. And Angelina goes, what's going on? You feeling empathy for the men? I said, I am feeling empathy for the men, but I'm also feeling empathy for myself and all of us who have been interrogated by people our whole lives, voices in our heads, parents, adults, billboards. Your teeth aren't white enough. You're not the right height. You're not the right weight, whatever. Those are all forms of interrogation that eventually can make us confused, traumatized, to where we don't know what's real. And in that time, we end up confessing to the worst crime possible, confessing of being unlovable. We're not enough, which is a lie. It's a false confession. And so I said, oh my God, I get it. I get it. Now, not to the extreme of what these men went through, but to a certain extent, all of us have done that. And so I wrote this song. I even sent it to the Innocence Project in hopes that they may use it. It's called Innocent, based upon this journey. heard about this young kid who served his prison time for a crime he did not do. He gave a false confession, and when they asked him why, he said, I did not know the truth. He was innocent. I thought about my own life, how I was like that kid when they told me I was bad. I offered my confession to what they said I did, and lost the childhood I once had. I am innocent. I did nothing wrong. I've been serving time for this crime for far too long. I am not to blame for what I didn't do. There is nothing I need to prove. I am innocent. You are innocent. This is the time for justice. This time we're finally gonna get it right. We're finally hearing the whole truth. You know what I did? I fired all my juries and got the pardon I deserved. And now I'm freeing other inmates too. You are innocent. You did nothing wrong. You've been serving time for this crime for far too long. You are not to blame for what you didn't do. There is nothing you need to prove. We are innocent. We did nothing wrong. We've been serving time for this crime for way too long. We are not to blame for what we did not do. There is nothing we need to prove. I am innocent.
You are so lovable.
You are innocent.
Who you are is so important.
We are innocent.
You deserve so much love.
There is nothing we need to prove. I am innocent.
You are lovely.
You are innocent.
You are amazing.
We are innocent.
You are perfect in every way.
So here we are, a part of the tapestry of the universe, playing our parts perfectly and divinely. We have more than enough evidence to convince any jury of our innocence. There are very few limits to our capability. It is impossible for us to be unlovable. No matter how hard we try, it's equally impossible for us to get it wrong. It's absolutely impossible for us to be anything less than the divine, eternal, worthy, innocent beings we have always been. Thus, it is ultimately impossible for us ever to be convicted of not being enough. In that case, an acquittal of the original case is inevitable. I now pronounce us all not guilty, and so it is. Thank you.